The dream to design, build and learn to hover a flying machine. The blades are spinning at 400 miles an hour. The risk is high. The chances of success are low. Who is the man behind this crazy project?
Hello!
He has an IQ of 150,000.
The first thing I have to do is some ground testing. There are a few things I'm worried about after so many modifications. Let's have a quick recap of what's new. The yaw vanes are carbon fibre and not aluminium. There is a much bigger radiator fan. There is an alternator which hasn't been tested to full RPM yet. These CV boots haven't been tested to full RPM either. I've got a new battery and also a volt gauge. But the thing I'm most worried about is the CV boots. If they break, which they have before, then you get quite a lot of vibration, and obviously CV grease tends to fly apart everywhere. I've got a camera pointing at the CV boots and I'm going to gradually increase the RPM and see what happens. As we saw in the video, the bottom tie cable came off and that's what's spun grease everywhere. It's not too much of an issue because I've got this one up here, which is actually the top of the joint. That's where the CV boot should be. It's a bigger CV boot than it should have on there, so we've got too much. So I think it's just what was inside there rather than coming out the joint particularly, so I'll just wipe it off and carry on. It even got that far up. How to get up there? As we saw in the video, the bottom cable tie came off again, but the top CV boot came off completely. And yeah, if at first you don't succeed, that's it, give up. Next thing I want to know is the cooling system any better? Well, that was just over 2 minutes. So for all those modifications, I've gained 20 seconds. Okay, well, the alternator isn't keeping up with the fan. It's a 20 amp alternator, so it's supposed to be putting out, I would imagine, 20 amps. The fan is 17 amps. The gauges and the water pump is 1 amp. So it should be keeping up, but it's not. So where do I go from here then? Put it back in the shed. I came back into the workshop and I thought I'll warm up my nice cheese and bean slice. Although nothing much has gone right today, that's just the way it goes. This sort of thing isn't easy, and if it was, everyone would be doing it. But there's a few things I can do from the knowledge I've gained today. I can go to a glycol-based coolant, which has been suggested by some people in the comments, and I've never tried that stuff before. I'm sure it will help. I think the CV boots would take the RPM if they were fastened securely. They don't really fit the joint that well, so there's something I can do to improve that situation so it doesn't come off. But it didn't burst apart, so that was something. I can investigate to why the alternator isn't keeping up with the demand for power. But really, 2 minutes of hover time is better than 1 minute 40. So I can go out and do some more practicing. It's not going to stop me. Day 2, winds are fairly light. It's looking like it's going to be a nice day. The skids are 1 meter shorter in all directions, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. Also, I haven't done this for several months, so I think the best thing to do is start off slow. I've got a tail weight to try and get the CG where I want it. It was 1 degree nose heavy on the last hang test. Now it's about 1/4 of a degree tail heavy, and I actually like it slightly tail heavy because I'd rather the front lifts up first. I don't really like the feeling of tilting forward as you go to lift off. Just my preference. Perhaps other helicopter pilots can comment on that and whether it bothers them at all. I thought the water temperature went up to 100 degrees suddenly. Well, I can see why now. This joiner here is nylon. That one I made is plastic. I know what I need to do. Something else that I noticed on that run is I actually got to full forward cyclic, and it can only go so far before it hits this tube here, and it is a few degrees, well, it's actually 2 degrees less than when I was last hovering, so I need to sort that problem out. What I can do is get rid of the tail weight. It will hover a bit nose heavy, but that will be better than hitting the stops on the cyclic travel. It's certainly hard work today. Everything seems to be going against me. The weather is really quite good today, and I could actually learn a lot if the machine would only just go for a minute, 2 minutes. Some days it will go all day without any problems at all.
This run went really well and felt great. As the wind was so low, it was very smooth and relatively event-free. There wasn't much for me to do other than to keep it as smooth as possible. With the alternator bullet connector reattached, the battery was now charging even under full load. This means the connector must have come off yesterday and I didn't realise it. I really felt that things were progressing here. I was more confident and I was experimenting with deliberately over-controlling to see how I corrected it. Although over-controlling was an issue in the beginning, I was in fact under-controlling at this stage, and I believe in the dodgy moment video I also under-controlled. I got to a stage where I was almost scared of the cyclic. When I had a lesson in the R22, the instructor got me to be more positive with the cyclic. Of course, with an instructor by your side, trying something like that is much safer than when I'm at home alone in my machine. Plucking up the courage just takes more time.
As we saw in the video, that was a catastrophic failure. The little bit you saw flying off was the bottom joint. This is the bit that snapped off, and it's failed on that same one as I had a failure on before. It was aluminium last time, this time it was EN8, and that's what's failed. It's no doubt scrapped this shaft. It's a buckled this section, which is what it was there to do, so that saved me, which was nice. For some reason the belt dropped down below where it would normally go, and it was rubbing, so that's been compromised. It's bent this bit of shaft. My water reservoir got smashed, and goodness knows what else. This might be the end of the journey. I don't know. It's obviously screwed up a lot of stuff. I've never been happy with that drive shaft. There's always been a worry. So unless I redesign the whole thing, go to full collective and cyclic pitch, I suspect that was probably is going to be my only option. From my point of view, I could fix the situation as it is, but will I ever really be confident in that shaft? I don't think so. So I just want to say thanks for following along with me. It might be the end, it might not. I'll go home and have a think. But thanks for your support. Cheers.